and say the pledge with me, please? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Lisa, can you do roll call, please?
Yes. Tar. Humphreys. Malzahn.
Here.
Brandt.
Here.
Rose.
Here.
Hayes.
Here.
Poznanski. Here. Parker.
Yep.
Stevens.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Do we have anybody here for public forum? Nope, okay. Can I get an approval of the agenda as presented?
Make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
And then,
All in favor?
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Sorry. Have it.
Can we get an approval of July 12th minutes, please?
Make a motion to approve July 12th minutes.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Nope. Okay, I think we'll flip-flop Lisa and Carol since she's not here yet.
Well, no, I mean, I haven't done a whole lot. I did talk to you after I talked to Ray about putting some mums in the flower pots.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed to help. They didn't look quite as bad. I completed the holiday lighting bid packet for approval. I did note before the meeting that probably need to change that date. After speaking with Lisa and Matt a little bit, I mean, they will bid on it. It's going to be difficult to get greens again this year because there just aren't a lot of people that are working, and
So once we get
So-
the bid back, we should open the bid before the next meeting.
right.
Okay.
She said that, you know, if they do wind up getting it, they need to place the order by the end of September.
Okay.
So I'm assuming that if it's, you know, if someone else bids on it, it's probably gonna be the same for them. Put together your packets, sent out the packets that I had, took those to Carol. You do need to get a new phone because the phone is not 5G compatible. It's a really old.
Is it still the, oh, you were right,
It's
it's
the
still the
little
flip?
phone. Yeah, you need a new one.
Okay.
So the next person's gonna need a new phone,
Okay.
definitely. But that's about what I did.
Okay. We'll move on down until Carol gets here then. And up next is funding request, and I believe we have Andrea St. Laurent from the Romeo Historical Society.
We are having a home tour again this year. It was on hold last year because of COVID, but we're back, and we are requesting $1,000 for this year to help with advertising. We've done the posters, table tent cards that go at local businesses and restaurants that are selling, and then also the tickets that have all the homes in it. You have always been so kind to donate in the past, so we're asking if you would help us again this year. Obviously, the DDA is advertised on all of our advertising as well.
Is the request up from the last time you guys?
It is. We sold 700 tickets last event, so we're just expanding our reach. So we were hoping to get a little bit more money to help with advertising, potentially putting it towards a billboard as well.
Did you guys fill out the funding request form? Do we have a copy of it?
No, I just got it.
Oh, okay.
I just got it, so.
Good, just so we know what the money's spent.
But I got the request through Facebook, and by the time I saw it and passed it on, and we all went back and forth, it was too late to get it in our packets. So they did do what they were supposed to, just time.
Oh, I didn't even see it on, I mean, I didn't see it on there.
What do we have
well, Carol's not here, what do we have budgeted for events, as far as like the funding goes? Just so we know where the money comes from.
I don't know right off the top of my head.
What did we do last time?
I believe it was 500.
I think. How much do you spend in a whole on advertising, or what is your plan for this year?
Well, if we would get the 1,000, the entire donation from the DDA would go towards advertising. And then the Historical Society also assists in funding additional advertising.
Do I have a motion to approve
I'll
these?
make a motion for 500.
I'll second Bill's motion.
Roll call, Lisa?
I'm sorry, the question regarding budgeted, we just don't have that answer, right?
What we
Right.
budgeted for events, yeah.
Do we even have anything budgeted in advertising?
Find a place, I'm sure we do something in there, if we use the same numbers. Lisa was calling the roll, I think.
Yeah. Parker,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Malzahn,
I will abstain since Romeo Printing does the bulk of this print work for the Historical Society.
Poznanski,
No.
Rose,
We don't have the answers. as far
We
as
have
what
something in
budgeted.
there, John. We have something in the category, we just don't know how much.
Why, exactly. So, I'm sorry, the motion was only for 500?
Correct.
Mhm.
That's what we did last time around on this.
2 years ago.
Yes.
Brandt,
Yes.
Stevens.
No.
Guys, make this challenging.
Well, ask Greg.
When will you be when will you start with the advertising and all the materials?
We start, ticket sales start in October, and so that's one part of it. And then as soon as our
It did?
tickets are produced, we'll produce the table tent cards, which go to all the businesses and restaurants, so it'll be as soon as October, right up to the event.
Well, the motion carried for 500.
Okay. I voted no because I would have offered more, but
Thank you.
the board passed it at $500 for the funding, okay?
Thank you very
Yep.
much.
You want that back?
Carol will send you guys a check, Carol Humphreys.
Okay.
I think that's how they have done it in the
Yeah,
past.
we'll just put that in.
Okay, and your information's on the funding
Yep,
request.
my
Yep.
address, everything is on there. And do we need to do anything else?
I think that needs to go back to
Nope.
Lisa if you want to look at it.
Thank you very much.
You're
Appreciate it.
welcome.
Is this for me to look at? You can look at it, it's just for their funding
Oh,
request.
no worries, that's okay.
Kelly, you're up next.
I am. The second funding request this evening is for the Art and Wine Walk, which is going to be held on October the 8th. Every year we have asked for $800. I am asking for the same amount this year.
I'll make a motion to approve the $800.
Will you be doing any extra or any additional this year?
Additional,
I don't know, based off the numbers, I mean, we didn't.
we didn't do it last year, yeah. And I gotta look into the Congregational Church, because that's where we've ended up
Yes.
every year, so I need to see if that's still a possibility too.
What's the tentative date for that event?
It is a solid date of October 8th.
Brandt,
Yes.
Poznanski,
Yes.
Tar,
Yes.
Malzahn,
Abstain for the same reason.
Rose,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Stevens. Abstain. Motion carries.
You didn't ask me.
Oh, Parker, I apologize.
No,
I
my feelings are
apologize.
really hurt.
I apologize.
God. Yes. Kelly,
Thank you.
the getting hold of the church people can be somewhat difficult because they have a meeting tonight about whoever makes these type of decisions. Because Susan went over yesterday to talk to them about the Monday Club thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure how often they're actually meeting before.
I actually go directly through Terry. the-
Right, that's what, yeah,
Okay.
she did that too.
Okay.
But they had to take it to,
The next step.
the next step is some board.
Okay.
Don't ask me what it was in, and they just happened to be meeting tonight.
Okay.
I know
Good to know.
that because I couldn't avoid knowing.
All right, I appreciate that. Okay, our committee reports. First up is the Employment Committee report. The Employment Committee consisted of myself, John Rose, Christine Malzahn, and Zach Hayes. And last Thursday, September 9th, we interviewed 4 candidates for the DDA director position. The position was advertised at 32 to 35 hours with a salary of $34,600 and a stipend of $100 that can be used towards medical. The 4 candidates were a young man from Carroll, and then the other 3 were local women that we interviewed, and one stood out quite significantly, and we as a group have come to before you guys to recommend that Elizabeth Miller be hired as the next executive director. She was the president of the library board for the past, what'd she say, 10 years now, I think? And if you guys want to interject anything.
Yeah, I mean, we interviewed 4, in my opinion, very strong candidates. We had some good interest in the position, and all had their own unique strengths, but in the committee's opinion, Elizabeth Miller stood out in that pack, and I think she would be an asset for our board here, and hopefully with the approval of this committee, we can offer her the position, and you know, I think she's going to be an individual who can really hit the ground running with the position. Might take a little work on our end to kind of formulate some goals and objectives for her in the position, get her caught up on everything, but I'm excited to see what she does with the role.
John, listen.
What they said.
What?
Yeah, I will say there were 4, there were 4 interviews, and actually, to be honest with you, quite impressive. So we were very fortunate to have up to 4 come in and apply, and but as Zach and Kelly have already said, or the committee's already said, I agree that Elizabeth would be one that would be essentially ready to go here after we give her some guidance and some benchmarks.
Kelly and John developed a series of questions. There were 8 questions. We each asked 2 of the questions, the same questions to all 4 of the candidates. So it was pretty well, just to gauge their responses.
And I think Elizabeth was the most prepared and ready to, and understood the position the best out of all 4 interviewees.
The other interviewees, what specific experience did they have?
The young man had done a lot of intern work with municipalities, more through the governmental. His aspirations looked to be more being employed with a county or
Right.
something like that. The next one was a business owner, and the third.
A local business owner?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And the third interviewer lives in the village, but works outside currently of the village.
Had some marketing experience and things of that nature. But yeah, and we don't want to go too much into other people's,
Right.
Specific details about any of their personal information or anything like that, in a public.
Well,
forum here.
I've been on a search committee for an executive director for a nonprofit for over a year and a half. We've been interviewing people.
I'm a little bit shocked, we've got somebody already that we think we're gonna go and hire, and we haven't, if we've looked that hard to find somebody who might have some legitimate DDA experience to help us. You know, when we say things like, as soon as we kind of point in the right direction and develop her and what we need to get done, I have some concerns with that, because I'd like somebody to come here maybe with some experience somewhere else, could maybe tell us something that we don't know and give us some guidance and ideas, but it's just, you know, my thoughts there. So it doesn't seem like we put forth enough effort to really get enough candidates in here a long enough time. It takes time, you know, to find someone who might be leaving a community that we want to be like someday, or that, you know, it has a lot of great things going that we could learn from them. So
That was
that's
one of the
my,
most intriguing things about Elizabeth, that she did some research and she brought some programs that she learned about in other municipalities.
Yeah.
And she thought that would be a good asset and a direction for us. So she volunteered that information as part of the knowledge that she would bring to it, and the motivation, I think that she would
Yeah.
keep that going.
Yeah.
Although she may not understand a DDA in its, you know,
Right.
basic environment, her awareness of what's
Yeah.
happening around in other municipalities, I thought was great that she brought that preparedness to the interview.
Given the compensation package we're offering,
Right.
do you realistically expect to get anybody with any experience asking for this?
well, I don't know if we find the person transitioning out or between something, or wants to back off a little bit of a heavier lift where they've been for a while. But I get that, Bill, I totally do. I'm just saying, in a 3-week or a 6-week period, or whatever it's been, it hasn't been that long, that we pull the trigger on something so quick. And this isn't about any one of those 4 people who may have interviewed. It just seems like a quick search. But with that, that's all. That's my only comment.
Well, I will say this too, the last time we put the position out there, we had 2 resumes that we received, one of which was the Lisa, who was just in the interim position. So comparatively speaking, we doubled the amount of interest we had previously, and in all honesty, like I kind of just second what Bill says. I mean, we're starting somewhere with a small salary, what this board can afford, but what I liked about Elizabeth was, you know, she had her sights on what this board could be in the next 5 years. So it's not somebody we don't want to go through this process every 2 years with somebody who's in
I
between
agree.
stuff and using it
I
as
agree.
a springboard. So I think if this board's going to be solid for years to come, I think this is definitely a move in the right direction.
And she's been in a leadership position in the community, and she's been in the community a long time. She certainly would understand the currents and undercurrents of what's going on here. Do you need a motion to hire her, or what?
I'd like to just add one
We do
more thing,
later on the
though,
agenda.
Greg, just to kind of hopefully set your mind at ease a little bit.
It's on the agenda a little bit later.
You know, by no means am I discounting this candidate as somebody that can't handle it. However, it's an at-will employment, and continuing on without anybody. You know, Lisa's got other duties right now, so I think for this board, we really need somebody that can try to help us steer the ship, so to speak, and get us moving. And continuing to wait, I don't think is the best. It would, be really advantageous for us. I think we're not going to get too much done until we really organize somebody to help head us up, and this is our opportunity, I think, to do that. And again, it's at will. We want to present benchmarks and give I don't know if we've agreed exactly the days, a 90-day, a 6-month, and a 1-year. And if we're not where we need to be, we may be right where we are again today, but I think it's something we should certainly give a try to.
And to answer your question, Bill, down the agenda, we will vote on. Okay. So that's all I have for the employment committee report. Fall event committee report. We had talked about doing the movie in the park on the weekend of Sweetest Day in lieu of the dinner we were talking about. And in research, I found that to play those movies, you have to be licensed there's 3 different companies. And I picked out Beetlejuice and some other movie, and each license was $395 to do this. So I don't know. Lisa thought last year that Parks and Rec had gotten the license, but there never was really a license pulled.
I thought it was through Ray Township, wasn't it?
No, we went, I talked to somebody at Parks and Rec, but right off the top of my head, it was not Clara that I talked to.
Mm-hmm.
It was whoever does the stuff in the parks.
Right.
And they were on our advertising, they were on everything that we needed to be on.
We just
They were
didn't have a
aware.
license.
Well, I mean, the person that I talked to didn't, said that we could use whatever it is that they use.
Well, in
and
speaking
advertise
to
it that
Clara,
way.
she had no idea about this. She had never pulled a license before, so I went out there to find, if you're playing these licensed movies in a public setting, you do have to have the license.
Yeah, it makes complete sense.
Does it change if you're not charging to go to it?
No,
Doesn't make a difference?
if you're charging, you're gonna pay more. Pardon me? You do,
Sometimes you
yes.
have to do that with certain
Mhm.
songs and music.
Yep. So I think last year we just played it, right?
Apparently.
Well, it was, I mean, and some of those might have been, because what was it last year? It was Charlie Brown, and it was.
Charlie Brown and
Frankenstein.
Frankenstein.
The old,
Right,
yeah.
right.
Do we need a new one every year, or does one count forever?
No,
Once you buy it
it's
for that
one,
movie?
no, it's every time you do an event.
Every time you play it.
Mm-hmm. No.
Hmm.
So just information, FYI, so I guess the fall committee can,
Might need to look for some sponsors.
mm-hmm, great. Okay, let's circle back. Carol's back with us for our treasurer's report. I
Bless
think
you.
she handed that out to you guys.
$300 for the movie or $300 for the all of it?
First page is what we need to approve for spending. This is the first report for this fiscal year, so I put everything in from July 1st. We paid the rent for the office at Village. We also gave money to the office pub for Jeep Night, as approved in the prior meeting.
Mhm.
I reimbursed Carl at Vera's for the balloons at the Chocolate Walk, and also I reimbursed him for flower baskets and something else I don't remember, but I have the bill. And then there were 2 checks written to Vans Valley for the 2 of the 6 payments for the watering contract. The $5,000 that you see are just transfers into the accounts. And then we got our payroll. We paid our IRS taxes and state and unemployment. We did not write a check to Lisa since July 1st. She needs to give me some pay stubs.
So back to the reimbursement, I think that was for the Ted's things that we did for the planning.
Yeah,
of
the one to Vera's was for the actual chalk, and
Okay.
then the other one was for the play.
So, for approval, it's $13,602.72.
Carol, I have a question. Are we
Sure.
done paying Vans Valley, or
I can't hear
are
you.
we done paying Vans Valley?
No, we got 2 more payments.
2 more payments, okay.
Did you get reimbursed for your mulch and everything that you bought?
It's right here. I
Okay.
haven't turned it in yet.
I'll make a motion to approve the bills, $13,602.72.
I'll second that.
Malzahn?
Roll call.
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Brandt?
Yes.
Hayes?
Yes?
Tar?
Yes.
Rose?
I'm sorry, but clarification, 13,000, 5,000 of that is just a funds transfer,
Oh,
correct?
yes, take that 5,000 out, I'm sorry.
Good catch.
So
Oh, no.
you're
So
actually
it's
talking
8,000.
8,602.72?
Can I borrow your pen, Bill?
You certainly may.
I'll amend my motion.
You amend your
I'm
second?
sorry, I didn't
Yes.
subtract it.
Okay.
Yeah. I just-
Brandt?
Yes.
Hayes?
Yes?
Tar?
Yes.
Rose?
Yes.
Poznanski?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Humphreys?
Thank
Humphreys?
you.
She wants your vote.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Behind the treasurer's report is this is what we expect based on, in July, I spoke to the two treasurers from Washington and from Bruce and got their numbers that they billed out at. And it's a little bit of an adjustment, but not a whole lot. And then the next page is our budget that was approved by us and by the village, and what we've paid so far against that budget. And then the last page is the actual budget that got approved. So if you got any questions, basically what's in the paid column, payout column, is what's on the front page.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve the treasurer's report?
Pardon me?
We don't do that.
We don't?
Although if you want a motion, I'll make one, but yeah.
Okay. All right, let's go down to unfinished business. And tonight we have Amanda from the county giving us an update on where we're at on the rewrite of the TIF plan for Romeo.
Thanks, Kelly. Yeah, so it's, gosh, I think I was here maybe in May in front of you guys, so I hope everyone had a nice summer. So I'm happy to report that we have wrapped up the update for the Romeo DD and action plan. We were waiting on some TIF projection numbers from Washington and Bruce, but we have those now, so the TIF tables are all finished. So Kelly, I wasn't sure if you had emailed out the plan to everyone on the board.
I did, but I don't know if everybody got it.
Okay, well, I don't really have presentation
I know.
abilities, and I don't have a printer, so I'm just gonna run
Well, I
through
explained
it.
to them, I tried to print the thing and it
Yes.
shut my machine down 3 times, so.
And so I can always send it out again tomorrow. I do have everyone's email address too, and then we're gonna get into the office on Wednesday, print out copies, and give them to Lisa so you guys can get it posted and whatnot. So I'll just kind of run through it really quick, and then if anyone has any questions for me, or once you get time to take a look at it, maybe tomorrow, let me know if you have any feedback, any comments. Just as a preface, there is a few charts on there that came out a little blurry. I'm having my graphics guy redo them before we post it on the website, and then we're gonna have one of our admin staff do a final proofread too before we get it posted to the website, because you know, you write the plan and you read it 20 times and you like realize you spelled that wrong or something and you just don't notice it. So, so the entire plan is about 4 chapters, which is a little bit of an update from your previous plan, which was basically just that one section that followed the legislation. So we kind of start off chapter 1 with the background and the purpose. And so it just gives a brief overview of the Village of Romeo DDA. It talks about your history when you were originally founded. What the original plan calls for, then mentions that your plan was amended in 2006, and now we're looking to do a third amendment, which would go from 2022 to 2037. Then we get into the second chapter, which is land use and characteristics, and our GIS staff did a nice job in creating some maps for you guys that show the DDA boundary, and then also we did a bit of a building use analysis. So the whole DDA is 30.7 acres, and we took a look at every parcel in your downtown district and analyzed what each use was. So you have 38 retail uses, which is about 36.5% of your total structure. So that comes in at the highest. Then you have single family housing, you've got 26 at 25%. And then your third use, that's ranked high, is office, which is about 18.3%, and then we sort of classified like eating and drinking, even though that's commercial, we tried to go down into like restaurants, and you're looking at about 9% of that. You also have some health and social service, a little bit of governmental, obviously your village hall is there, religious and civic, educational, and then we did break down the housing into attached condo, multifamily apartment, and single family housing. So just an interesting tool for you guys to look at your land use, especially if you're ever looking at land acquisition, trying to see what you may need more of to diversify your downtown or where you could fill in the gaps. So that map is on page 7. And then we kind of go into some demographics. Some of it is specific to the DDA. In general, a lot of it is just for Romeo as a whole, because Romeo is a smaller community to begin with, and then going down just into the DDA district, it's hard to find specific demographics just on that. But John is gonna run through just some of the demographics that we, put together, for you guys real quick.
Good evening, everyone. So just a quick rundown on what we saw with demographics. Much of this you may already be aware of, but I'll just kind of summarize it. So as you know, like there's a smaller but stable population here in Romeo. There was some slight growth like through the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and ever since has kind of like flatlined with a very slight increase over the projections all the way out through 2045. Like SEMCOG is kind of seeing like a similar type of stable population growth. It's relatively low density in comparison to the rest of the county, but there is a strong representation of a family-forming and mature family population, which just kind of reinforces the point that there's a stable and slight growth in the population that we have in this community. This reality is further reflected in the community having a lower median age in comparison to the rest of the county as well. The county in general is like experiencing like an aging in place type of phenomena. Romeo kind of like bucks that trend a little bit, which is unique and good to see. Now that doesn't necessarily mean like it's 100% good or 100% bad or anything like that, but it does influence your future policy decisions on like different services that may be needed, amenities like playgrounds, school facilities, trails, different types of events, like how you would market them potentially, and like who you're trying to attract in your population you have within the community. Getting into some of the economics, Romeo has a median income level that does not deviate greatly from the trends and statistics seen throughout the rest of the county. The bulk of the 27 communities are all within like the same area, within like $1,000 to $3,000 of each other. There's like a couple that are just like way on the end of the spectrum, or vice versa. So that is what we've seen there. So we don't see anything concerning there. And then we also saw some really interesting statistics here where the total daytime population of the community was the highest in the entire county. So you tend to have a larger population that kind of migrates into the community during daytime work hours than any other community in Macomb County. So that, there might be some opportunities there for the DDA.
No wonder there's no parking.
How do you, quick question, how do you calculate that?
So a lot of that is based on the employment numbers, like the different employers that are within the footprint of the village. They also look at traffic counts. There's a bunch of different data that kind of goes into it that SEMCOG tallies into their computations.
Would that include our industrial area?
It should include the industrial area.
Sense.
So that's something that would be a factor in terms of what might be changing in the future and what's on the horizon. But in general, like that is a pretty strong indicator of like a good, healthy kind of like migration of population and what could be also further developed on in the future. So yeah, like if you look at it as a DEA and different businesses within this area, that's a population we want to target and try to like get to downtown. But yeah, in summary, the village has a stable population with much room for future population growth and safer trends among the younger families, as well as demographics reflecting now and in the near future. Businesses and public amenities might need to be well thought out and targeted in order to provide for these of the wide ranging age that exists within the village. So.
And then I'm sure, it's always hard to follow numbers that way, so all those charts and graphs and data is in the plan.
I'm gonna paste it in there.
So then we get into chapter 3, which is basically what your original plan consisted of. And state legislation has requirements for what needs to be included in every DDA plan. And we just kind of followed that, very similar to what was in the 2006 plan. We just changed the layout slightly. And then we basically took all of your guys' programs and projects and goals that you had listed in the 2006 plan, and you guys indicated you basically wanted to keep those the same, and we sort of put them into a chart, just a little condensed the scope of the project, and then sort of gave them a project timeline. We're looking at, is it long term, is it ongoing, is it short term? And we define short term as you'd like to see that happen 0 to 5 years, ongoing obviously throughout the 15-year lifespan of the plan, and then long term would be around that 6 to 15 time frame. So these are just sort of things when John and I were going through them that we added in there. So again, please feel free to take a look if you think we're totally off base, you know, but for example, we put roads, streetscapes, signage, and wayfinding improvements kind of is in the long term, but beautification and landscaping improvements is going to be ongoing. That's something you guys are going to work on every year. Perhaps facade improvement program guidelines and architectural consulting is more short term. Things that were on the lower cost range, we kind of considered more short term goals, and those projects that had more of a heavy lift and a higher price tag were either going to be ongoing or long term. And then we get to the final chapter, which is just the tax increment financing plan, which has all that language that's required from the legislation. And then we have the TIF table, which right now I'm not loving how it's showing up in here. It's a very large spreadsheet, so I'm going to see if we can have that laid out a little bit better.
I tried to print it and it was about this big.
Yeah, so Matt said we can redesign it. He's like, can we lose some of these tables? I'm like, no, we do need all of the numbers in there.
Right,
The state doesn't
yeah.
want to see all of that data. But basically what you're looking at is about $3,864,000 over the next 15 years in total tax increment revenue. Anywhere from the low 200,000 range each year all the way up to, by that 2037, you're looking at $260,000 in tax capture every year. So these are obviously estimates based on what they assume the properties will be valued in over the next 15 years. But it has all of the mills and all of the taxing jurisdictions that were approved in the original plan, and I believe no changes are being made. You're not planning to capture any additional taxes or increase your DDA boundary in any way. So basically that's what we put together. If you guys, I'd like you again to take a look at it, over the next couple of days, but our next steps would be to I've been working with Lisa on getting together all of the public notice language, the letters that need to go out to the taxing jurisdictions.
They have that in front of them.
The timeline?
Yep.
Okay.
So it looks like a lot needs to happen before the next meeting.
Yes, so again, your plan doesn't expire until the end of December.
Right.
So if you want a little bit more time to look at it, we could again push it out until a public hearing in November. But right now I have the public hearing at the Board of Trustees meeting on Monday, October 18th. So we would do the public hearing there, and then the Board of Trustees would make their final vote for approval. All the notices need to go out at least 20 days before that public hearing, so you'll need to do 2 postings in the newspaper. A letter needs to be mailed to all the taxing jurisdictions impacted by the plan with a link to the plan, which we'll post on your guys' website, and then every property owner or taxpayer in the DDA has to get a letter letting them know this is where the plan can be found, this is when the public hearing is, and when the public hearing is and where the plan can be found, and that they have an opportunity to come and present, any issues or concerns at the public hearing. So I have those letters all drafted. The public notice language is done as well, and then we'll just need to get the resolution updated. So, you're looking at like a Wednesday. I think Lisa and I talked, if we did the notices on the 22nd and the 29th, that would give you guys plenty of time and be compliant with the state regulations. So, I wanted to make a few changes that we could totally get done this week, and then as long as the plan is posted on your website a week from Wednesday, then I think you would be good to go. But we can also push it out another month if you want to, but I think everything is pretty much good to go. The nice thing about these plans is they're fairly simple. You follow the legislation, and we just kind of added in some extra meat and flair to it just to spruce it up a little bit.
With the graphs and the pictures and, yep.
Yeah, so our graphics guy is really great. He did a nice job. And if you see any photos you don't like or any new ones you want added, once we have the plan posted on the website, we still can make changes to it. Like, we could change a photo, or if you notice a typo, you can go in there and change it and then just upload it back in too. So, yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. If you guys have any questions for us or any concerns or.
I have a question that I guess I just want to clarify and get for the record statement. Part of this plan incorporated a public questionnaire which went.
Yes.
Give an update as to that questionnaire response rate and how long we actually had that available.
So last time I presented in May, we had, I think, 40 responses. I checked today and that was 43, so not too many additional responses. I know we pushed it out a couple more times on social media, before the summer really kicked off, and then we haven't really gotten too many more individuals taking it. What we would do with that is start it in the appendix, so it would be in the back of the plan showing that you've got public feedback and everything. But I looked through it today and then compared it to my presentation that I gave you guys in May, and nothing really changed too much.
We
so.
did have that offered, for a number of months though.
Yes, it was up for almost 4 months.
Okay, so
Yeah.
for 4 months, we had this out there for
Yes.
the public comment and the
Mhm.
questionnaire to be
Yep.
returned. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Generally, they don't read.
Just making sure it's clear that we've had this
Yes.
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 available.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, the link is probably still live. We don't really take them down. It's not like statistically significant, so we'll leave it up there for people to take if they want. Obviously, we'll close it once the plan's approved and everything, but yeah.
Do you do any sort of evaluation, maybe I missed it because you covered a lot there, but on our spending versus, true DDA approved type of spending? I know when you look up those MCL codes and so it kind of says that what DDAs are for and the money that's collected and such. Do you evaluate that spending to see if
I could take a look at it. I haven't actually seen your guys' budget or what you spend the money on. It's a little broad. I mean, obviously they have language in there as to what you should be using the money for, but event planning, the things I've heard you guys speak about is definitely all what a lot of DDAs do. I mean, we've worked with Utica and Richmond, New Baltimore. I see very similar trends in what you guys have spoken about and what I've seen in those communities, but I can take a look more if you want. My only comment would be that some of the projects that you have listed as goals, the cost is significantly higher than the amount of revenue you have coming in. So, you have a couple $1 million items listed in there, and we're looking at, over the 15-year lifespan of your plan, you're going to make or accrue 3.7 or something like that. So that was the only kind of discrepancy I saw, which is that, sometimes, I mean, obviously everyone's goals outweigh their realities of what they can do, which is good. You have it in there, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to.
projects are those?
Is there a link on the SEMCOG's website to other DDA's budgets that's handy, or at the MML? I don't remember
Typically-
seeing it on the MML.
Typically, the DDAs have to post their budgets. If you go around and look on the website, you will see their
Right,
budget.
but you would go to their individual
Right. Yeah, yeah.
municipalities,
Well, I've
not
never
one
seen anything on
clearinghouse.
SEMCOG's.
Okay.
But yeah, Kelly's right. The state requires that everything is transparent. So yeah, I mean, John and I could take a look if you guys like, and just check out a couple other ones to see. But I can't say for.
I think Greg might be interested, I don't want to speak for him, but other municipalities that are our size with
Yes.
similar budgets, what are those allocations? What are they typically spending their revenues on?
I would say Richmond and New Baltimore are probably both good equivalents. Utica just recently dissolved their DDA, so they aren't even functional anymore. But yeah, we can definitely, look into that and just email you guys out some info based on what we find.
Richmond is a huge DDA,
Mm-hmm.
so is Elmwood.
But Richmond doesn't actually have a DDA.
It's a tip.
It's a TIF, yeah.
Right. So it's a little bit different.
It was grandfathered in before DDAs became DDAs. They established a TIF committee.
Yeah.
So they have the tax, but they don't really have a body that oversees it.
Because
Yeah,
if you
just
dissolve
the-
it,
It's a committee, a
Right, it's
TIF
a- right.
committee, yeah.
it goes to the planning commission.
No, it's a TIF committee that oversees.
If you dissolve the
It's
DDA,
not
it
the whole
goes to the
village,
planning
it is
commission.
still a boundary. Gosh, off the top
We're
of
not
my
talking
head,
about
I
that.
can't remember exactly where it is. It is the way they consider their downtown, so where the McMurtry Trail ends in that whole area there. St. Clair Shores also has a TIF, which is their nautical mile district, which is just from 9 to 10, I think, and then along Jefferson. So,
These were taxing authorities that were established before DDAs
Yeah.
became governing
Cool.
bodies in downtowns. Does anybody else have any other questions for Amanda and John? No? Well, thank you guys for coming out tonight and doing the presentation. I think we can probably adhere to this timeline
Okay.
that we have here.
Do we need a motion to approve that? I mean, I don't see it on the agenda. Or we just,
This was just to approve the timeline?
right, to get the notifications published, right? Right.
And then I assume we'll just have to run it by the board, I mean, obviously Christine, you're on the committee, but making sure I don't know how much notice they need to get it on their agenda for a public hearing and stuff in October, so.
Just
I
appears
think
to be-
20 days.
Okay, so
So,
we'll just
yeah,
follow
so
this and-
significant, right, yeah.
Okay.
Make a motion for anything.
You want a motion?
Do we need a motion? This
Well,
was just an update on the time frame of what the public notices were.
she just said you could table it if you wanted, or you could adhere to the time frame. So I just wanted to know, are we adhering to this by motion, or is this, I don't know who you're making the suggestions to, that we follow it? That's all I'm
Are you
asking.
guys gonna meet in October?
Mm-hmm.
I would say maybe in October, making a motion to recommend plan approval to the Board of Trustees.
They have to have their notice.
It's not required, but obviously, it's a good formality to have.
But if we're gonna
Right.
do the post of a public hearing by September 22nd, do we have to make a motion to post the public
Hearing?
hearing?
Okay.
Because
Right,
that'll be
because-
before our next
right.
meeting.
Okay.
So, yes.
I'd like to make a motion to approve this,
Timetable?
yeah, this timeline, which we're looking at right now, so that we can move forward and try to hit that actual October 18th, I guess, at the Board of Trustees meeting. So a motion to approve this timetable that we're looking at in front of us.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Just to clarify, the September 13th through the September 22nd, who is it responsible for each one of those items?
I'm gonna work with Lisa on it, so I have all the language drafted for everything.
Okay.
Between Lisa and I will get those, I'm gonna get on my GIS guy to pull the addresses of every taxpayer, every parcel in the DDA district, so we'll get
Well,
those
gosh,
addresses to
I
her.
wish we had that before.
So then, do you need the village clerk to publish
No, I'll publish.
for the public hearing?
I've already got the public hearing notice, I just have
Okay.
to send it back to her, so she
That's all I
can-
want to know. Does
I'm gonna send it
Catherine
back
have to do
me and then-
anything?
No,
Okay.
she won't have to do one until, except for the October 18th meeting, is when she will have to do a public
So she
hearing
does
notice.
have to post that
For the
public
pu-
hearing,
Yes, for that
Yes.
one, she will.
which I
She will
believe is
not-
20 days out.
Um,
Who should I work with, to send it to get it on the website?
Send it to
Send
me
it
and
to-
then send it to Catherine to put it on the village.
Clerk
Since
clerk
it's
at
a-
villageofromeo.org.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
Lisa, you're gonna be hanging on till we get this done?
Yeah, I'll hang out. I had already told
Yeah.
Kelly I would help Elizabeth, because there's gonna be some things that
She would not
Yeah,
be
I'm
able
just
and,
concerned that somebody understands and
Yeah.
follows up
Yeah.
each of the timelines.
yep. Now, like I said, Amanda and I worked together. She had already sent me the public hearing notice. I already have it saved. I was just waiting on timelines, so.
Okay. But I will, I'll add to my whiteboard for the Village of Trustees Board that we'll have the public hearing on the 18th.
Perfect.
Okay.
Well, thank you all.
Did you get this list of landowners, property
It was in
owners,
the, it was in
taxpayers?
your-
You're gonna provide us that
It was
list?
in here.
Yes, yeah, I can send it out to everyone, and then
Maybe
I'll
it
also
wasn't
put
together.
it into the format you want for the
Yeah,
address.
just so I can put it
And
on
so
my
you're gonna
list.
work with your people in the county to kind of put that together, is that the deal?
They have the GIS system that will populate that information for them.
Yeah, so that's really important, because we need that.
Yeah, we've
A
been
lot
looking
of
at that
stuff.
for a
The
while.
only thing I don't know is like if we'll have the actual thing.
She said-
I don't know if we'll just get the address, and
That's
then
what
it
she
might have
said.
to be like,
Yeah.
you know what?
Resident or
Well,
business.
what address, the taxpayer or the residence, or the address of the property?
The property.
Like a tax-
Yeah, that doesn't help. So how do we get the taxpayer's address?
John, would it be we could probably get both, we could probably get taxpayer, which is sometimes different than property owner,
Well,
so yeah, we could get both.
90% of the time it'll be different in these
Yeah.
DDAs.
Yeah.
So you'll be able to provide the property owner's address then?
I don't know if we have that type of detail. I know we'll have whatever the legal name is associated with the property.
Yeah,
And
Well,
then-
and that address.
and the address and the tax ID and everything else. So, we can see if there's something further, if there's like a mailing address that goes separate to that.
Greg, to answer your question, there isn't. Property, I get lots of tax bills. And It's just, they come to one of my addresses. But that doesn't have any indication as to who the property taxpayer is, or anything outside the fact that it's just coming to that tax, to an address, and what it's being taxed for.
I know there's a property transfer affidavit that's always done.
Yeah, but I get tax bills, I'm just telling you flat out, I get tax bills, and that tax bill has on it an identification as to why I'm getting the tax bill, and it's got a legal name on it. But that's all you would ascertain about it. You would not ascertain that either I or somebody else owned that property.
Okay, all right.
I mean, it's just the way you see someone's LLC
Well,
on
they're
it,
gonna
so
come up
what?
with a list as best they can with addresses and.
Right, I mean,
Yeah.
they're sending it out to the appropriate
District.
address,
The
but it's, if you're holding the property in an LLC, that doesn't answer the question which was underlying
Well,
yours.
but
They're
that
looking at
LLC
mailing, not tax.
Right.
Yeah, so for this one, I just picked a random property, 186 South Main, and the owner, Bruce Cunningham, I have his address, and then the taxpayer, in this case, says see owner information. So I will be able to see who the taxpayer is and their address, which obviously if it's a business, it's gonna be separate than the owner.
Yeah,
So I guess what we need to think about is, I probably just need to send it to the taxpayer,
That's
not
right.
necessarily the owner. So we need the taxpayer addresses to mail these out to, I'm thinking, so.
well, certainly not the tenant, because that doesn't help us a lot.
Yeah.
Can I see that blue sheet again?
Unless they're said taxpayer.
Yes.
But yes.
So we'll get that full.
Well, again, thank you, John and Amanda, for taking the time out. And then we'll look for your email with the plan, and,
Yep.
and if you guys have input, make sure you get it to them.
We'll print, I'll send it to you again, let me know, once I get it.
I have it, I just,
I'll have Matt condense it, it's a giant file, so, yeah.
okay.
Yeah, if you can do-
All right.
Next, under unfinished business, we have Paulo Mura from Rowe Professional Services is going to present on a parking study. You can go up there, yep.
You can turn that too if you would like, so that you can have a better, yeah. Whoops.
Is Roe the folks doing the crosswalks as well and all that? Okay.
We good? Okay.
Thanks, good enough. I'm Paul O'Meara from Road Professional Services. I began working with Christine, I think about a year ago now, on the pedestrian crosswalks projects that we're now designing. And I worked with the city of Birmingham for about 30 years. And during the majority of that time, I also oversaw the parking system in that city. That's 3,500 parking places the city owned and operated, and multi-million-dollar fund that we had to deal with every year. And then a parking committee that was just engaged in the parking system, overseeing it, overseeing our contractor that operated the parking structures. So it was a big operation. And twice during my tenure, we did a parking study like this, where we basically collected lots of data about what's happening, and also looked at the zoning ordinance and the development trends, and tried to project into the future what we should do for the future. And that really was a big help in terms of trying to figure out what the future should be. So, and I also worked with Walker Consultants in the past, a lot more on the structural end, because my first initial impact for them, for the way we operated, was to, they're structural engineers as well, because I'm an engineer by trade, and we maintain our structures that way. So over the years, we've developed quite a good relationship, and this is their planning wing that put together this proposal with me, and they actually will be doing the majority of the work, but they're based in Kalamazoo, Toledo, so they don't want to be able to, or can't just stop by here as much as I can, so I'll be the base more often than they will be, but they would like to come if the village entertains this proposal, and have a several-day visit where they would obviously meet with people like yourselves as well as other stakeholders and village staff, and try to put together a plan and collect a lot of data as to what's actually happening on the street, so that they can see what the problems are, see what could be potentially run better, and then put together reports and present it to the village. Hopefully it's something that you can use as a blueprint for the future. So, if you've got any particular questions, I can certainly entertain them.
I have a quick question. There was a parking study that was done, maybe, what was it? Bill, you might know better than I would. Was it
96?
15 years ago, 20?
Probably 20.
At least 20, 25 years ago. Is any of that information potentially relevant that could, because not, I mean, obviously there's changes since then, but what is different today that from what we looked at 25 years ago, and could that help implement things as opposed from redoing it all from scratch?
I did look at that. It was, unfortunately, it was several weeks ago, so my memory isn't real strong as to what was in the report. But my recollection was that it wasn't so much based on what was actually happening on the street and making observations in terms of like enforcement and signage and where to put people in the right places to make sure that the customer comes first, the employee is obviously kept happy, but put somewhere a little bit lower priority so that they're not tying up the best parking places, those types of things that we found at least, and Walker has as well. That you need to be able to put your foot down in some cases and make sure people behave. I don't recall there being a lot of that in the study.
Okay.
Not that we want to entertain being the bad guy, but there's obviously got to be some winners and losers on this, and you want to make the customer obviously be the winner as much as possible.
Physical characteristics of the area haven't changed at all, Zach. There have been no new parking spots created. What the parking we have out there, particularly as it relates to the streets or lack of parking on streets, comes from decisions made many years ago by the fire department and the police department saying you cannot park a car here because we have to get tanker trucks through here, or we have to do this, or we have to do that. And certainly none of that has changed in the last 40 or 50 years. If you want backup on that, you'd call Floyd and say, why did we do it? He's still alive and still lives in the area.
I have one question, if I may, and I apologize if it's in here. Haven't read through this, just got it. What's the time frame on this? To complete what this
We're thinking about a 12-week block, but as far as when it should start, we would want to talk with Christine and anybody else that's interested in terms of what's the best time of year to study it.
to study, but the 12 weeks is from what you're proposing,
Right.
start to finish?
I think the visit with Walker being here is an important time, that election-wise, if you want to do that at the right time of year. There's certain times of year that would be wrong. So depending on when it's authorized and when we actually get started. I wasn't sure if the apple harvest period was really the right time, or if that's kind of an odd time that doesn't really reflect.
You don't want to do it middle of January or anything like that?
Yeah, I wouldn't want to do it.
Or October, right, 20th, when everybody's coming for Tilson Street.
Right, or Beach Fest or something. And then also, and again, I apologize if this is, we may have already discussed this, the financial obligation here is where?
It's on page.
No, is who, is DDA?
That's
is
what I was going to ask, is
village,
it
was this?
looking all for DDA monies or village input?
Well, this was, you know, somebody that came before the DDA, so, right.
So this is DDA financial.
This is just in the central business district and something that we've talked about at our goals and objectives. Do we need it? Would it be beneficial? Is it wise? You know, most of this parking, all of this parking is within our district, so. Right. Although, you know, when I reached out to Walker Consultants, Paul and I had a conversation about that payment in lieu of. Remember when I brought it and I said, look, we have this backlog of parking needs, and there hasn't really been an asset management plan put in place. And there's something on the books for ordinances called a payment in lieu of parking. So if somebody purchases a building or wants to build a new building and creates a use, there's a requirement by zoning that they have so many spaces for that use. If those spaces aren't available, you can charge a fee, payment in lieu of, and then you use that as your money to create the new spaces, or, you know, upkeep, maintenance. And so when I asked Paul, I'm like, well, no one seems to know what that fee is. What should it be $2,000 a space, $10,000 a space, $20,000 a space? And he said he didn't really know either. And he said, but I think I know somebody who does, which is where Walker Consultants came in. So I touched base with him and said, you know, this is the problem that I'm having, and I'm trying to come up with a program that would encompass, you know, our needs. And so then he said, yes, he could help with that. He does parking from small projects to multi-billion-dollar projects in the city of Detroit, small and large. He came out, he met with Kelly and I, and then we thought it may be better for them to collaborate in this study based on the requests that we had, especially including Greg's, for that staked survey, that very detailed, not just an aerial GIS, but actually somebody to go out and figure out who owns all those private spaces, and where do the lines sort of get blurred between public and private parking. So that's where Walker Consultants came into play. I didn't mean to.
And they did have programs for privately owned spots that
Kelly,
could.
I don't mean to interrupt. Do we have a copy of the 20-some-year-old study?
It was all emailed to everybody.
It was given to
Yeah,
us.
I had it in my office. We all had it.
I guess I must have.
Yeah, we all got it.
Nikki brought it in, like Glenn, gosh,
Bill, they
6,
did
7
that
months
before
ago.
you moved here.
Right.
I'd just like to look at it again if I could get a copy of it. Or
Yeah.
email it to me, or,
Sure.
Well, the programs that they have come along since 25 years ago are different scenarios of how to use the private parking spaces. You, you make a pool of them with the owners being paid to use those spaces, correct? Is that one of the?
Well, there's lots of different things you can do. I think one of the ideas I don't really have ideas on the private use right off the top of my head, but certainly.
Your counterpart did when he was speaking to us.
Right. Yeah, but there's certainly ways we can use the right-of-way better in the public lots.
Do we envision these crosswalks changing anything as far as the flow of traffic or anything that could possibly change the results? Like we go through, we implement something here, and then all of a sudden now these crosswalks come into play, and that we realize that the flow of traffic has changed as a result. Wouldn't it be better off to do something like this after those big projects are put into place, so that you have a current understanding of where your flow of traffic is in town?
I guess I would argue that there might be an opportunity, like, for example, if the Bailey lot, my understanding is underutilized, if that is going to be set up as an employee, encourage people to park over there. It might actually work on the far side of Main Street. Maybe it would be argued that it's not as difficult of a task to get from one spot to the other, because the crosswalks would make them feel safer. So hopefully nothing we would do with the crosswalks would actually be harmed by it.
Right, I'm not saying necessarily harming it, just changing it, just.
We won't gain or lose any spaces, if that's what you mean.
No, but it might
By
change
that.
traffic flow coming through town. If I'm gonna avoid town, if I have 6 stops to go out to McDonald's if I'm coming from the north end.
Yeah, the pedestrian crosswalks won't make any new stops. It'll just hopefully create an environment where people want to go a little slower.
Yeah, because they're.
There's not a stop sign at each
Right,
one.
but you will have to stop if there's people there, right? I mean,
Well, I would hope you would do that,
Right,
whether
but I'm
it's
just mean-
crosswalk or not.
Right.
I think Carl's in other communities.
No, that's
I mean that they have the right of way.
That's actually a
In
kill
other
zone.
communities, you see a sign where people have to stop. if
Have you
someone's
driven
in
through
the
Oxford
crosswalk.
lately?
Correct.
No, I haven't
don't
been out there. I
believe
heard
that
about it.
there's
That
signage
is
that says that,
fantastic.
but I could be wrong.
I mean, I drive through where I look often enough to know it says that they've got.
The
literally-
right of way.
There's signs there in the bloody middle of the street that say, stop for pedestrians and crosswalk. So if you hit them, as your SOL, I mean, the guys,
I don't
No,
believe our
don't worry
plan
about
calls
that.
for that.
Now with the left turn lanes, it's really not safe to put those anywhere they'll get hit right away.
So that's a question, but I know we're off a little rabbit trail, but this is all kind of part of it. I think in front of my building, heading south, sort of where Little Caesars is, has there ever been thought about, stopping left turns from there so that lane could stay open for, crosswalk, a rescue island area or whatever, safety island or whatever you call it, so these types of things, you know? So some of the areas are just, you reduce that center lane travel. Is that all being looked at when we talk about these crosswalks, or?
Greg, that's a county decision.
Say again?
That's a county decision.
Well, and it may be, but they'll take our, you know, maybe our encouragement or requests or thoughts with engineers looking at different ideas.
They
for
won't, as a
safety.
matter of fact, because Paul and I have had this argument with the county who wanted to take away their approval of the plan, and we had to reiterate that they already sent in a letter of support for it when we applied for the grant. Once they realized that there would be bump outs at only 2 of the intersections. So when we entertained, or they thought we were entertaining more movement, more changes to their right-of-way, no, they're not looking for that at all.
Doesn't a lot of this boil down to what we always talked about, enforcement and buy-in from the business owners, and to say this is a lot where everybody's going to park, or you're not allowed to park here if there's, if you're an employee. It's something that has always been a topic of discussion, and we've always said it's necessary, but if we're gonna lay some serious dollars into implementing a plan that's gonna work, that part has to be there.
Mhm.
And what's different now than what we could be doing in the immediate time without spending that kind of money?
Right, well, the difference is staffing. Do you have an enforcement officer for parking? The answer is no. You don't have you could assign that to one of them who may or may not have time if they're busy with other investigations or traffic violations, whatever it is, to do that. So you don't have a designated parking enforcement officer on staff, which other municipalities do. We talked about metering, right, as an enforcement method on its own, without having an officer go over there and mark tires or take pictures and then go back 2 hours later to see if that vehicle is moved or not, right? That's the only way you're gonna enforce the parking around the park during the day.
Well,
It's easy for them to do the overnight enforcement.
Sure.
Obviously, that's, a much bigger time frame. But the only other way to really enforce that is meters.
Is that true?
Wasn't the survey?
You're not a parking expert, but in your defense, correct?
No.
It's the people down in Toledo that really know this
I know
stuff?
enough about parking there, but she's basically saying it's correct. If the message is out there that there's no enforcement, you can have a sign that says 2 hour limit.
Well, that's not my
Regular
question. My question is, are there ways to meter these spots in some cities meter them somehow by not necessarily human capital touching them, looking at them, that there must be other ways that they...
Sure. Well, yeah, just the traditional parking meter that you put up at each space is, if you're a policeman, they would say that's the best way, because then they don't have to be out there chalking tires like.
Chalking tires just went to the U.S. Supreme Court, and
Yeah, I saw
said
that.
you can't do it.
Yeah.
And the
Leave it.
survey that went out too, it was, if I remember correctly, it was, people were overwhelmingly against parking meters as a method of enforcement in town.
But I don't find that reasonable.
Yeah. I wonder.
What else would you do?
If you go to Rochester, right, does Rochester have a parking problem?
Yeah.
But everything is metered, right? They have a
Mhm.
huge
I was just there on Saturday.
management plan, right? People park blocks away to
Mhm.
walk to a restaurant out of
Sure.
town. They pay to park there in a
Mhm.
parking structure, and they're metered. So I don't find it to be a deterrent,
Right,
right?
your real question is, do they have a parking, if they have a parking problem, do they have a show-up problem? They don't have. People go there and they have to pay to park, they have to walk, they have to do whatever.
But they also utilize
That's
that
right.
revenue
That's right.
to maintain their parking as an investment to the future, so.
Well, to be clear too, Chrissy, and Zach, you asked the exact question I was thinking about, if we don't have any buy-in from the village folks that are gonna actually support what they ultimately come out with and it doesn't have to be a gun-toting law enforcement officer that does this sort of work. It can be a quote-unquote meter maid or whatever someone who's checking, marking, whatever you wanna do, if it's taking pictures of, and then ticketing. They don't have to be, they can be 3 hours a day at certain times. And I think once people get the groove that this is being watched, that person comes and that's what they do, I think that begins to set the tone of how things are gonna flow, but we'd have to have confidence. I mean, spend $41,000 and then find out that we don't wanna then spend that $18,000 each year to have somebody go out and mark tires or take
Enforce.
pictures or whatever, enforce, right?
Enforce.
So that has to be something that we want to follow through on. And then acquire another property, if they're willing to do that. I heard through the grapevine, did we buy the post office property?
We did.
That's fantastic.
But you gotta develop that now.
Well, but
Right.
it was baby steps. We're getting there, you know, that's great. So, you know, as long as we're gonna head that way, I think that's good, but.
How many public spots are taken up by the post office every single day for hours upon hours in town?
I have not done an accounting, that's part of his proposal.
I think somebody could easily go out and,
It's 20 to 30 when I spoke with the postmaster or the interim one at the time. It's about 20 to 30, somewhere in there.
that's a lot of spaces that just by going to one building in town and saying, there's a lot across the street with the church, you have a lot, you have your trucks there. That's what's mind-boggling to me, that we're talking about this parking issue, and if those numbers are true, we're gonna plop down some serious money when we could eliminate 20 to 30 vehicles off of prime parking right now, and if we're talking, and it's all right by that park. So the fact that we can't get them to move their vehicles when they're parking illegally every single day it's just baffling to me. I don't get it.
Zach, there's two other elephants in the room, and that would be the recent purchase of the dock building and the observer building. And the winery, I assume everybody knows the winery's moving out because he wouldn't renew their lease and he wants to tear the building down.
He sold it.
Pardon?
He sold it.
He did sell it because,
He sold it to a company in Shelby Township.
yeah, because they would not renew his
So we're
his
losing
lease.
the
And the church is for
winery in
sale.
town?
The church is for sale. Sooner or later, somebody is going to do something with that, and I assume we all assume it's not going to be a church. At least I make the assumption it's not going to be a church. But
Fair
that's
one.
just me.
That's a fair assumption.
So you, just in that little block, you know, something's going to happen when we haven't the slightest clue what.
This is informational right now.
Right, what I was gonna say, because the board did not get an opportunity to read this and what the proposal is, I think they need to take a look at this before we really move forward to make any plans.
But I think we should somehow do a vote over the phone or so. I don't think we need to wait a month to let these folks know if they should get going or not. I think in fairness, us a couple weeks to look at it and then pull a phone vote or something like
Can't
that.
do that.
Well, I would honestly say if this wouldn't even, as we kind of mentioned, a time frame, we're not talking until at this point in spring. If we were to do something like this, we're running into obviously October, and then it's, next thing you know, it's January, right? So
Well, I think you'd start your work now, right? Pretty soon?
Well, I'd want to have more conversations about what is the right time of year to study. I know that there's the apple harvest, but I don't know if that affects the whole month or if there's a
No,
particular.
you got October, November, there's time. to do the
November,
work.
I think, was probably a relatively normal shopping month.
So I know this is a pretty hefty price tag, and honestly, the number sort of scared and shocked me. Is there one area that's the bulk of the labor involved in this, and is there a way that we could cut that? What's the most costly aspect of this project?
I would say likely the visit from Walker and really being here on the ground, observing what's going on and collecting data. I know there was a reference to having volunteer help to do a better job of that. But even with the volunteer help, there's still, I think, a big part of the cost is them being here.
So is there some camera work that can be installed? Can we utilize get that data from, you know, I know that
Drones or?
they could put those little stripes across the road and get a traffic count, right? Is there, I don't know, I'm just
Well, I think there was
asking.
two things. There was the occupancy, to try to understand who's parking when, and then turnover. So there's the idea that coming back every 2 hours and seeing if it's a 2-hour zone, is anybody actually moving and turning over the spaces?
Part of this was a stake survey, how much is that?
The stake survey is really not a good name for it. We wouldn't be out there putting any stakes in the ground. It would actually be just looking closely at the map, the property line maps, and trying to figure out where the public spaces are and the private ones, so that we can give you a good inventory of what you've actually got to work with.
And I think you can get a lot of that information from the county off of
And that's
their
not a big ticket item.
a GIS system that hones in on.
Right.
Earlier, you guys were talking about the crosswalks. Have you seen what they put in over on 33 Mile
The sidewalk?
between Sheena's and Emmett's?
Yeah.
It's really nice.
Just the sidewalk, right? Is that, there's
I
not a
mean, it's real
crosswalk?
noticeable.
There's bump outs at the corner of Kading and,
Oh, I haven't seen those
yeah.
yet. It's nice, good.
I haven't either. Does anybody have any other questions for Paul? I mean, I don't know what you,
Just a couple more on this. I don't know if this is a time, but with all this parking and everything else, you know, this, I think I'm sort of the designated dumpster whiner in the room, a dumpster corral whiner. Does that, when do we start addressing it? Who's the smart people out there that tell us how to fix that problem? Because it's gone on probably 2 decades too long, and it's not, doesn't seem that hard to fix, but, and then the boundary survey thing, again, you're not doing, are these maps gonna be accurate enough that can tell us, you know, where these lot lines really go on the ground? Or are you guys, I saw some guys out in front of my building, you know, marking concrete and taking
That's for the
survey.
crosswalk.
He just
I
said,
understand.
he just said no.
No, he didn't say no
Yes,
to what
he
I
did.
I didn't ask the question yet, Bill, he couldn't have said no, okay? Thanks. So my question is, can you folks do that, and can you get a price, or at least a quote, to do a quadrant of the village? The biggest area that's the toughest one to understand would be what we call the southeast quadrant. There's a lot of cootie bugs back there, that a lot of landowners, a lot of property owners, so that would be nice to know. So,
I would say what our intent was to get a good aerial photograph and try to plot out the lines on there to make sure that you know what's public and what's private.
yeah.
That wouldn't be actually putting it out in the field.
And why that's something that's important is if we're gonna try to do some infrastructure updating there, is if we know who really owns it, we could go and try to help them. This isn't at all to push anything on anybody, it's to say, hey, we've got some money, or we can find somebody, we can do something to help you fix this, because they live 50 miles from here, and they don't even know what's going on back there. They just know the check comes in the mail every month, and that's what they worry about, and that doesn't work. Those
You're
apps.
saying there's some dumpster issues where things are sitting in spots they shouldn't be.
Well, dumpsters, and also just dilapidated parking, not striped, not
Okay.
properly marked,
That's
not uniform.
Enforcement again?
Say again?
Enforcement again.
Perhaps
If
so,
there's a- if
but
there's-
we'd have to know, I totally, but who do we enforce on? And not to jam it on, that's not my point, it's to help them, say, you know,
Right.
this, yeah.
But is that something that the village has in its budget to hire somebody who's, I know there was like somebody who would usually look into like blight and stuff like that. Is that something that still exists? I'm asking out of ignorance, because I honestly don't know.
right, no, I'm saying that we do not have a parking enforcement officer.
Or anything, like
Right.
just even
You
like
have a
with what
code
Greg's
enforcement
saying.
officer that goes out on the blight, right? That writes tickets, that, you know, addresses residential as well as the commercial district for violations of ordinances.
So, but if
So,
a
right
dumpster's
now, right.
in a space that's not, that's on somebody else's property, like, does it take a business owner going to the village, making a complaint, and then somebody following up on it for it to be
Yeah,
enforced?
and
So
then
that's
Patrick
basically-
goes out there, or Rick goes out there and knocks on the door and says, whose dumpster is this? Or we have to call GFL, because we just had the one that was pushed from behind Locks Cleaners into the striped parking area because Locks owed $1,000 and they didn't pay the bill, and GFL wouldn't pick it up. And I said, somebody come out here and take this thing away before Peach Fest. I don't care who owes you what, it's in my space, get it out of here. And that's what it took to get it removed. But, yeah.
So I mean, that, I guess that's what it boils down to.
Well, but there's more things, and I don't want to waste this gentleman's time on that. You know, we've got all these parking bumpers and posts and signposts that are bent and rusted and bleeding out on the parking lots, and it just looks, there's no reason for it. It's just a lack of pride or issue of what they're doing back, and sometimes people just need some help and some encouragement and guidance, and be like, yeah, we'll do it, we just don't have everybody to do it, or we'll pay for it, find someone to do it, type thing. So there's a lot of things here, and that's what but we know who to talk to specifically about it. That's my point. So, but that's all I got on this. You know, again, I hope then we get in these parking spots, dumpsters can be figured in there somehow, and we'll have to keep talking about these boundaries and lot lines and such. And I'd like to ask about crosswalks. You're the expert on those, right?
Yes, I can help with that.
So how are they gonna, do we have like what they're gonna, so there's no stop signs, there's just gonna be yield to pedestrian crosswalks? Are they gonna be elevated, are they gonna be bumped out, are they gonna be?
All of that is in the packet that you approved.
Well,
All the pictures, what they would look like, the material's gonna be used.
so you're suggesting that there's gonna be no changes in what was given to us then?
There's gonna be, actually, the bump outs will be downsized slightly to make it past the road commission's purview. They originally didn't want anything, but you were able to negotiate with them and step them back a little bit, but not much. The majority of it will still be there.
Okay, and my understanding was those were more like conceptual ideas to kind of get this ball rolling, and that, but if those are gonna be it, then I'll restudy those, and then we'll expect they'll look.
If you need me to send them to you again, if you don't have them, I absolutely, I can send them to you, but yeah.
No, I have them. I mean, again, it was something, you're right, we approved them, we worked on them hard together. I just didn't know that that was gonna be that exact thing, so I'm pleased, I'm ecstatic, it's great.
All right, Paul, well, I don't think they have
Well,
it.
if I can just ask one question, if the cost is the issue, would it be helpful if I try to break this down and kind of give you a better idea of how much?
That would be great.
those parts
That would be,
cost?
yeah, that would be
So if you
great.
want to do
What,
a la carte, we can figure something out.
okay, yeah,
That would be helpful.
that would be helpful to say, we want to spend this amount right here.
Sure.
But it's what we need, thank you very much.
Right.
You're right, thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Okay. Back to the new executive director hire. I think we're looking to make a motion to accept the recommendation from the Employment Committee on hiring Elizabeth Miller for a set amount of $34,600 for hours of up to 34 hours per week, with a $100 stipend towards medical.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second the motion.
Lisa, roll call, please.
Kuznanski,
Yes.
Brandt,
Yes.
Malzahn,
Yes?
Humphreys?
Carol.
Humphreys,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Rose,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
How many
Tar?
hours did she
Yes.
say?
34.
Stevens,
Yes.
34.
motion
week.
carries.
I think it was 34 hours per week. wasn't it?
Mhm.
What are you questioning, Carol? Did you have a question about that?
I just didn't know, I didn't hear how many
Okay,
hours
okay.
in the rate.
Okay. The rate is $34,600 salaried,
Right.
with a $100 stipend per month for medical. And it's working, well, the 34 is an average. If she's got something going on, of course, there's gonna be more hours in there. But it's salaried, so it's whatever it is every.
Oh, it's gonna be salary?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Motion passed, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Where's your pen again?
So,
I can't.
I
I will
forgot to
make
grab it.
contact. I'll convene you guys again to set the plan in motion for getting her hired in.
Yeah, when the subcommittee met, we decided that we would just have one more meeting and set some benchmarks, 90 days, 6 months, blah, 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 so it would give her a specific set of work orders. to look at,
And
so.
just to be clear, we still have to offer her
The job and make sure she
position
accepts,
because
right.
we came to the board for approval before we
That's true.
offered her
That's-
the job,
Well,
so
she could tell us no, right?
that's all, hey, it wouldn't be the first time that's happened.
Really? Oh, jeez.
Excuse me, your
Not here,
benchmarks,
but-
the committee decision, or do
Yes.
you need to ask for?
Oh, do you want
suggestions?
input?
Any input, or-
Do you guys have input on the goals for her for 90, 180?
Yeah, that's a bigger, I mean, that's a bigger meeting
I-
discussion.
I think what we should do, this is just my opinion.
As a committee, come back with?
Well, because John, you already did, was that you who was
Yeah.
working on sending something out already?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So we can email it out to the board for their input. Anybody, we'll email it out to everybody so they can review it,
Mhm.
respond back, so that then the committee can take that input and go to Elizabeth with it once, if she accepts the position.
That needs to be part of her acceptance. I mean, she's gonna probably want to know that before she accepts the position, so that's why
We need to convene, yeah. Yep.
Do you have that list?
Yeah.
Do you know it? Do you want to just verbalize a few of those that you named off? I mean, it very well could just be everybody's going, yep, those 4 sound great. It doesn't have to be that elaborate.
Website was a big one.
Right.
Website was huge.
I mean, we know that it can change as whatever events occur or things crop up, and it may sort of change, but the ones that John came up with, I thought were fabulous,
Mhm.
and probably put us right on the right path.
I didn't bring that sheet with
Do
me.
you want that right now?
Yeah, just read it off.
I've got 8 here, actually.
Okay.
Number 1, set up a process whereas accounting reports can be easily accessed and reviewed to help us figure out, to navigate, so it's not just once a month, but we can all stay abreast of issues throughout the month. 2, develop an effective method for communications between board members, including the director. Seems as though, again, something we were lacking here and there. Number 3, meaningful progress on website development. Number 4, a complete list of CBD building owners. Number 5, to assemble a complete list of CBD business operators or tenants. I didn't earmark time frame on these. That's
Mhm.
one thing we'll have to put together. Number 6, update a CBD map including businesses and parking. Number 7 would actually be to review an existing, but update a DDA board member manual. And number 8, create a DDA business information guide for new businesses and existing businesses. Something, again, these are really all things we've all talked about, haven't really acted on. So some sort of a manual to attract new businesses or new business coming in, we can say, here's who we are, how can we help, to quote Greg.
So I think if you look at that list, and then you throw in there 1 meeting a month where she has to, get the agenda, do the board packets, right, communicate all of that, I think that's a significant amount of work right there for one person to tackle, and
That's for the year?
I would say 6 months.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking 60 days. I was like, that's a lot for 60 days.
right.
No.
Did you send that, can you send that out to everyone, John, when you get a
Yes.
minute? Because we can add some bullet points, like that onboarding package, like specifically in there has to be also for, managing the construction process in this community. It's going through it right now. I've been
Property
here,
development.
yeah, I've been here a long time, and there were some roads we had to kind of plow through, I thought, that were a little bit more challenging than they should have been. So we need a roadmap. If you want to do something, here's the thing, that would be part of that. So that'd be good. That'd be new construction type stuff, building ordinances, things like that.
Well, why doesn't John send it out?
Yeah.
And if you wanted to put
Yeah,
your
that's what
bullet
I'm gonna
points
say.
in, then, okay. So we will reconvene and come up with.
One last one that I think would be really important is on training for new board members as time goes on, having an onboarding process that people sort of get
Orientation.
orientation, thank you.
Mhm.
And one thing that wasn't mentioned in there either that should it just familiarizing themselves with the business owners in town. You know what I mean? Being a community liaison for the downtown and
I think that was one of her strong points.
Sure.
She said that,
but yeah. But
And to that point, part of my reasoning for, let's see, a list of business owners, building owners is she's got to hit the streets and get this information. She's going to be meeting with people.
right.
right, but
Mhm.
not necessarily.
Wow.
You could do it for, you could easily go through, just especially with somebody like that, knowing, I guarantee you she could name half the businesses and business owners without introducing herself. You know, not to say that she won't, but just to know that the expectation is some sort of physical presence,
Mhm.
because I think that's important as well.
You know, at the chamber, I have it's a pamphlet, threefold, with a staple inside that points out what we do, where, you know, our events, our board, who's doing what. You could have her develop one of those kind of things for the new businesses. Pardon me? Oh.
So do we want anything with set office hours now that we're gonna have someone full-time in there so many more hours?
That's
Is
down
that
here on
really-
the list here that we're gonna throw out there. So, that passed. Okay, banners, unfinished business. Peach Fest banners, did they come down yet?
Mm-mm.
No. So the next ones we have are Harvest Day banners.
But
Do-
there is no harvest.
But there's no but in my head, I think harvest.
There's harvest,
Yeah.
the entire fall season
Right.
in Romeo is
I mean,
revolved
do
around
you put
harvest,
those
but
up or not have anything up? No. I guess is the question.
What do those banners look like
They say
specifically?
Harvest Day.
They're
They do say
burgundy.
harvest days.
Don't they have wheat coming out of them?
They do, but.
The maroon.
Burgundy and tan, yeah, with some.
They're burgundy
either-
with
I
black
think it
and
has
Cornucopia.
hands.
hands. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, why wouldn't we put them up until the next would be the Christmas decorations?
Well, again, if the DDA was going to take into account the time and reimburse the village for the cost, do they want to pay to have those banners put up? Or do you just put nothing there until the Christmas decor goes up?
How much does it cost to put them up?
I think we decided it was about $1,200.
Yeah, well, you know, this is a
But
perfect.
it depends on how many they have, because, right, whether they're putting up 80 or 20,
Right.
yeah.
I think you should put them up.
I do too.
So
Yeah, why
take
don't,
an emotion
what if
on
we
it.
got a business to sponsor it? They got notoriety somehow by, you know.
Well, that's a whole
Harvest.
nother plan.
I know that, but we should be talking about that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, someone will pop $1,200 to have their name.
Is there talk for Christmas?
But do we
banners?
want it to look,
It doesn't have to look that
Ad,
way.
you know,
No,
like an ad.
a blast can go out on our website and everything else. It doesn't have to be an ad for that business
so
hanging
they wouldn't
there.
necessarily have their logo on the
Right,
banners?
just an acknowledgement somehow, that in the newspaper and the whatever, you know, social media, on our website, I don't know.
Lisa, when you went over and you did the accounting, because didn't you take an inventory of how many we have? Do you have that list somewhere? Or did you not
No,
open
we
them up and
never-
count
no,
them?
Megan and I went, and then Kelly and I went once, and
Right.
there's so much stuff in that room.
I know.
There's not a lot of Harvest Day banners
And
left
we,
that are really.
hey, we did
that are
it for
usable.
that
I didn't
senior
think so
picture.
either.
There's
One of
not.
those, I know our name was
Okay.
on something we sponsored.
Well,
Yeah, that's,
let's figure out how many we have and put up
Was
what
it?
we have.
That-
If it's a
that- yeah, they-
condensed,
Amy's had those sponsors in the past.
Yeah.
Just in the downtown area, then that's fine.
I think we need to develop some sort of generic one for when there's these
we
laws.
do, but we don't have anything right now,
Well, I know
so
we don't, but we don't even know,
I don't
are
know.
there gonna be the grad ones, are there gonna be the spring ones, are there gonna be, because obviously if there are, we're not paying for those to go up and down, but
Mhm.
we may have to if there's nothing there, because we're not gonna leave Christmas ones up in January.
Well, and that's a good thing for
About
this DDA
$90.
person to be working on.
Uh-huh.
Agreed.
Banner process, it's crazy.
All right, the question right now is to put up the Harvest Day
Yeah, I
banners.
think we should.
Just-
But
Are
what
we-
if, well, what if they do say second weekend in
Yeah,
October?
because it might look like there's an event happening that's not.
Do
because-
they say that?
They might.
I don't think they do. I don't think they do.
Well, why
Are
don't
we
find
putting
out?
up corn stalks and pumpkins around? Because last year, last couple of years,
We always
We had
had-
some fall decor, I don't remember who paid for that.
The
Some of
DDA
the-
did,
Some of the
and
businesses paid for
Sean
the-
put it up and the DDA paid for it. You
And
guys
some,
were-
and some businesses
Flooded
did
it.
themselves.
Group
guys-
did their own.
You guys have already approved $500 for Sean to put
Right,
deco in the
Okay.
lower pots.
So we're getting some decoration.
right.
Put up. So does a banner add to that, or if can we spend that money on more corn stalks and pumpkins and gourds? Is that
Who's
better?
gonna
That
Yeah.
would make more sense.
But what would be up in, would we still have the Peach Fest banners up? 'Cause
No,
it
they would
wouldn't-
just take them down.
Take them
Okay.
They
down
would
and
just
just
take them down and
decorate.
not put anything up until, I don't know. I haven't heard anything from Amy about the Christmas
know either.
banners. I don't think at this point she's planning on it, but she could be.
I'd rather see more fall decorations and spend, yeah.
$1,200
Right.
on the banners.
I'd rather see more of the fall decorations, and then we need to,
But is
before the
Sean-
end of the year, develop.
Sean willing to do more decorations, Lisa, do you think? For more
Probably
money?
would.
Okay.
But that's something like
He
Greg
had
said.
suggested to me as a heads up, because they do those same pots that we have on the lamp poles that, at the Catholic church.
Right.
Catholic churches have been there longer.
Mm-hmm.
He said those are like brand new. It's because they don't come up and down every year. And they get all banged up and chipped up. And his suggestion was to leave them up downtown and put decorations in them fall and
Winter?
and
Winter greens?
yeah, and then they won't be so beat up looking and so on and so forth. So that was just a suggestion he said to me, so I just thought I'd pass it
So
on.
what I'm hearing for fall is,
You mean the ones that are already there with the spring?
Yeah, the ones that
summer
are there
plants?
that are strapped to the
Okay.
pole, those big
Mhm.
double hung pots,
he's
yeah.
suggesting leaving them up year-round.
Mhm.
But how would they, I guess they could just go around the thing. Anyways, what I'm hearing is take down the Peach Fest and authorize Sean to do more decorating with corn stalks and what have you for,
Yeah, and we're gonna leave all the other banners up as they are.
no, we're taking them down. The Peach Fest?
No, the Peach Fest ones, yeah, but it's not just the Peach Fest ones that are up right now, is it?
Yeah,
It is.
That's it?
yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
The Lions put up a dozen with the blue ones with their QR code for Peach Fest,
Right.
and then we
had
put
the
up
green and peach.
another dozen of the green generic Peach Fest banners.
Oh, okay.
So there's 24 out there right now.
Did we pay $1,200 for that?
No, that would, yeah.
All right.
So what is
Lisa,
our
do you think
cost?
there's 10, 12 decent banners left?
Maybe 20, maybe.
Then why don't we put up those 20 banners?
But we don't know if they say that there's
If they
an
say
event
there's a
happening.
Harvest Day event, we can't put them up.
I agree on that, but if it doesn't say that, then they should be put up.
I agree with you, Bill. We should have them up. If we haven't, it makes no sense.
If it doesn't say Harvest Day, then we
Right.
just,
I think it just says harvest days.
I think it does
With
too.
the basket and the corn stalks. I tried to Google, see if there's any random pictures.
All right. Banners or no
What's
banners?
going in the pots right now that are there?
I'm gonna
Is
make
sh-
a
He's-
motion to
he's
hang
put-
banners.
But right now, that $500 that we have allocated includes for him to change out and put decorations for fall in those pots.
Some of them,
and
not
as
all of
many
them, I
as
don't
it's-
think.
But what, okay, so we need to know
pumpkins
what it
and-
would take to do all of them. If we're going to leave them there,
Okay.
then we would want something in all of them.
Right.
Right.
My understanding is, unless we ask him to, he's not doing anything with pots.
No,
Any decorations in the pots. He's leaving the flowers as they are until they're.
But last year he did.
no,
do-
he's changing them out. We already approved $500 for him to do decorations in the pots.
In the pots, but not all of them.
Right.
But that's not all of them. It's what $500 gets us.
Because he did that last year. He did the pots with pumpkins and corn
Mhm.
stalks and what have you.
So he's not doing any of the hay bale poles or anything like.
No,
like
he
in
didn't
front
do
of
any of that.
My space that I did.
You did.
You know.
I
he
do my
did-
own.
He did Blue Ridge. He's not doing any of that unless.
Not for the
One
500.
of us hires him
Right.
separately.
Right.
Yeah, that's me. That is me.
Yeah, because all the ones on my end were all private. Like Nikki did hers, Kehoe did his, we do our stuff.
So banners, yes, if they say, don't say Harvest Day weekend.
I would put the money towards the baskets, but that's my one decision.
What's the fall lighting that's here? That's
That-
for the orange and
Halloween.
purple?
Orange
Yes,
and purple.
that's
Around the light poles.
$1,600.
I mean, do we need to add any money to that? Because are any of the lights burnt out, or we're good with that?
I don't know.
The
should
lights
be
are,
good.
the lights are pretty good, and Matt and Lisa said they would do it for $1,600.
Okay.
So you're getting that.
Well, if they're gonna do that, they'd probably love to not have any banners in their way. I'm just saying.
All right.
Call for a vote.
Are we going to vote on this? I make a motion that we do not put any banners up, but proceed with more fall decorations in the downtown sector for the fall.
In what amount?
And how much more money?
Not to exceed $1,200.
I don't even know
Is
that
that
it was
including
that
the
much,
500?
right? I would say just an additional 5, right?
But it said
That's
not to
1,000.
exceed
That's getting us,
Okay.
that's getting us double if we do it
Right.
at 5.
Yeah.
So,
Did you change my motion?
She said
I'm
not.
not, I can't change your motion.
Sorry,
You
She
can
said it wouldn't
change your
exceed
motion.
$1,200 and I seconded it.
Okay, then there we go. Roll call, Lisa?
Hold on, I'm still catching
I
up.
know.
That's a second. Yeah, I've written it about 4 times already.
So the 1,200 included the original 5, is what you're saying?
Yes.
So it's not
Additional
17, okay.
$700.
Okay.
Right,
You
no.
know, in the budget, we already have allocated for fall harvest $1,785.
Okay, but does that include the lights?
Yes. That's my belief, is that also includes.
Yeah,
when
because
the-
we have also a light replacement, but that was for Christmas holiday lighting.
Okay, so
Because
I
that's
just made a
5,000.
motion, so now we're looking at 16 for the lights and then 1,000 up, or up to 1,200 for the decorations, correct? So that's
Correct.
2,800,
Correct.
okay.
How much? Changed it?
No.
28.
2,800.
Mhm.
Okay, Lisa?
I'm sorry though, I'm not clear on the decorations. Are we talking about in the pots?
Yes.
Period.
No.
Corn stalk too. No?
Was
No, I
that
thought you were
first?
counting the lights, the Halloween lights in that, when you said $2,800.
Right, yes.
But 1,600 of it's for the lights.
Right.
And
She's
12
already got that budgeted on something else. We went to,
1,200 for decorations.
right, okay.
500
So
of
the
that
existing
has already
pots will
been
stay up and be
allocated,
decorated
it's
in
an
the pot.
additional 700.
Decorations, up to 1,200.
And
I think you
1,600
should put
for
some
the
corn
lights.
stalks on
Right.
some poles too.
I think we would just leave it up to Sean.
Yeah, let him do it,
decide
yeah.
what $1,200 buys us.
Right,
Knowing that we would want all the pots to stay.
We do that.
Lisa, do you have the motion?
yeah. Roll call, please.
Can I read the motion first?
Sure.
No.
I'm simplifying this.
Okay,
Motion by Stevens, second by Parker, to not hang the banners, but add more fall deco, not to exceed $1,200.
correct. Okay.
Stevens,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Poznanski,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Rose,
Yes?
Brandt,
Yes.
Melzan,
Yes?
Humphries,
Yes.
Tar,
Yes.
motion carries.
Then we could add to Elizabeth's tasks to inventory said banners.
Yeah, we needed like a
And take
Google
pictures of them,
sheet that we
right.
can share with a photo, how many we have. Somebody can design a new one, we'll figure it out.
Okay, new business, office space. So it was brought up that if Elizabeth was working more hours, would she need a office space to report to, or could she work from home? My space is no longer available, I rented it on Friday, so she could go back to the village upstairs, right?
I already paid the rent for the whole year.
Yeah,
Right, well, which, we would
You could give
negotiate
it
that.
back.
My concern was that that space worked great for Lisa one day a week on Fridays, but it's not a secured office, right?
Right.
There's no door. We utilize that space for all of our other meetings and negotiations, so it wouldn't be private if she was on the phone having a conversation while we were in the main area, having other meetings. So I just saw that it's problematic if she was reporting to that space 5 days a week. And I thought it may be more beneficial to have her near our director for ease of conversation and sharing of information back at the chamber building. But that was when she had a room available, which
she can come,
obviously
she
she
can
doesn't
come in
have.
and
but
use the conference room.
It doesn't mean that the room won't be available.
Right.
And that she could move to if we were looking to, to move.
The other suggestion was maybe having her work some days remotely from home and using the office equipment at the village halls, so,
If she was willing to do that.
right. I think she kind of indicated,
She would prefer to do that.
Yes.
Yes.
mhm.
Yeah, I think there's some expectation that she would be working remotely from home, and she's close to the library. I wouldn't be surprised if sometimes she goes and works there, and because she has ties there too. But I don't, for what we need right now, is it okay if we just keep things as is with the space at the, so she has access to the village office? If she does need to work from there, hopefully she's so busy with stuff that she's not gonna be spending a whole lot of time just sitting there, but maybe when she prepares packets and gets stuff together like that for our meetings.
Yeah, it's
So-
absolutely not a problem. I mean, the office is closed for walk-ins, so there really isn't many meetings upstairs on Fridays. Occasionally, the tree board meets there at 8 a.m. But, you know, so that's why Fridays really worked out good for Lisa. She just sort of had
I think this is a
access to
subject that's
everything.
gonna be ongoing, and we can
If
review it.
it's problematic, we can
Yeah.
bring it up again.
Yep,
So the next time Kelly gets a vacant spot, she can contact us.
Right.
It is the most cost-effective,
oh, and this one was even cheaper, it was only
it is
225.
the most cost-effective office space in downtown Romeo, period.
It is.
Right.
It is.
By some multiple of, some multiple.
But that's okay, Bill.
I'm just saying
It's a good deal.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
For what you're offering, it's beyond conceivable measure.
Okay, on to fall lighting. We've talked a little bit about this. Matt and Lisa DeRoche have for the past, I don't know, 5-6 years done the purple and black lights, and they came back and said they would do it for $1,600.
Which is just, it's $100 more than
It-
what we had previously paid to
correct.
have it done.
So do we need a motion?
We need a motion to hire the DeRoches to hang the, pardon me?
Make a motion to hire the Droshes for a fee to not exceed $1,600 to hang the fall lights, and I assume it means take them down too.
Mhm.
I'll support.
Roll call, Lisa?
Parker,
Yes.
Kuznanski,
Yes.
Humphries,
Yeah.
Malzahn,
Yes?
Tar,
Yes.
Are you wrote it?
Hayes,
Yes?
Rose,
Get it.
You didn't get my permission to use it.
Brandt.
I'm sorry, clarification, this RFQ, is this for next year?
That's for
That-
Christmas.
That's
No,
That's for the
no,
next thing
that's
on the
Christmas.
list.
And that's
We're
this year
talking
and
about
next
the
year. We're
fall.
talking about fall right now.
Okay,
The fall lights?
yes.
And Stevens,
Yes.
motion carries.
Do you want mine?
Oh, yes, Brandt.
Yes.
Thought we said it.
Okay, on to Christmas lighting bid approval to post, which is in your packets. Where do you post this, Lisa?
On the DDA webpage, and I
Okay.
have Catherine posted on the
Village?
village. Again, and I don't know if everybody was here when I said this, but I did talk to Matt and Lisa about it. They will bid, but they need to place the order for greens by the end of September, which I'm gonna assume is probably the same with anybody who may be interested. So my suggestion would be, is I had this, that you were gonna open this at the next meeting, but I would suggest that you, you
Well,
know,
we have
make it, I'll post it tomorrow, or I'll post it on the DDA website tonight when I go home. I'll send it to Catherine and ask her to post it, so tomorrow you take it down next Tuesday,
And then,
and then you hold a special meeting to approve whatever bids you might get, so that somebody can get the greens ordered.
Okay, so we have to, because the deadline is included in this, this bid package, so we're going to have
Yeah, I'll
to pick
change
a
it.
date.
Yeah, I will change
Update
it.
that.
You just need to tell me what day next week you want me to change it to.
Is there a legal time minimum?
Pardon me?
Is there a legal minimum time?
No, I would say a week is plenty. I don't believe that I haven't heard of any minimum.
So
If
like
there's a
7 days
2 week,
would be enough?
I would think so.
Okay.
so if you post it tonight, by Monday night next week, we should,
Well, Tuesday.
Tuesday, okay.
Because I'll send it to Catherine and ask her to post it tomorrow.
So can we Zoom that meeting, rather than get everybody here?
That's up to you.
Are they interested in a multiple-year contract with this?
Well, I didn't make it a multiple-year contract because I didn't know, I mean, because if you change the lights, then you have to change the contract.
Ah, okay. All right, well, I say, Lisa, go ahead and get it posted. So do you guys want to reconvene here next week?
You do have the ability under the emergency declaration
to do Zoom?
to do Zoom. Yes, it's the discretion of the chairman. It's not intended to be for convenience, but, I mean, you can have a Zoom meeting, like the tree board is having a Zoom meeting.
Can we shut the restaurants down too?
No, thank you.
What if you did the meeting on, what if?
They'd all be open if you go over there and wash some dishes.
The bids would be back on Tuesday if you did your meeting on Wednesday.
Wednesday? Okay, what's your input? Do you want to get here on Wednesday or do it on Zoom?
Rather do Zoom.
Zoom? All right.
Zoom.
I cannot attend.
I won't.
You're going out of town, aren't you?
Yeah, we're in Portugal.
Okay. Well, darn.
Darn.
I
All
would
right.
not- I would not be able to attend on the 22nd either, but as long as you have a quorum, you'll be fine.
Okay, so I'd say 7 o'clock on September the 22nd. Now, do you have to send that, or I can send out a link from my account, or does it have to come from the village?
It does not. It just,
Okay.
as long as the agenda is posted with the Zoom link, it doesn't matter if it's from your account or our account. It's probably
Okay.
better coming from you because then you can facilitate and I don't
Right.
have to make you.
Right, right. So
Your
you'll do the
privileges.
agenda and send it to me?
I'll do the agenda.
All right.
Send it
Just
to
as,
you.
Do
as
we have
is
to wait until 7 o'clock and then do it? Could we do it?
No,
We could do
you
it
guys could
Who?
tell me a time you want to do
Yeah,
it.
do
I don't
it
get out of
someday.
work
Yeah,
till
but
5.
do you know the name?
Pardon me?
I don't get out of
Snake.
work till 5.
They hired
So
Good
5:30?
Oh, Elizabeth.
Can you jump on? No?
Elizabeth Miller.
Elizabeth Miller.
Yeah.
Oh, Megan said she can do minutes
Okay.
until you jump on.
Okay, that's fine.
Because
The-
it'll be quick.
Kelly,
Yeah.
since, I'm sure that she's quite correct, because even if we authorize spending the $5,000 I think that we said we were going to, if we don't attempt to buy that stuff soon.
Oh, I know, that's why we're gonna
Okay,
do that.
that's also included as part of this?
Yes, that's
Yes.
in this bid, yes. That's-
Yes.
Okay, I mean,
Yeah.
that they are going to, they know they're gonna buy more
When we hire
snowflakes
them,
and,
We have to tell them by next week so that they can get this ordered.
yeah, that's,
Yeah. Okay, guys, 5:30 on the 22nd. I'll send a link for it.
one
Changed
here,
it?
I changed it, yes, sorry.
one
On the
here is that some
22nd?
things are already sold out at some stores.
That's what she was saying. But
Alright.
their big concern is ordering the bulk of the greenery that comes from up north.
And it's highly unlikely you're gonna get it.
So I'll make a motion to have Lisa send out, to post the lighting bid as presented, with the changes being that we'll open the bids at the special meeting September 22nd at 5:30 PM via Zoom.
I'll second that.
22nd or
Yes.
27th?
Second, 2-2.
Did you?
I
You
did.
second it?
Yep.
You have to
Okay.
take my place and I'll be.
Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We have to have those informational meetings that we held last year for the townships. The next one's got to be in October, before the October meeting, on the 4th, Lisa? Is that
Yeah,
correct?
You could do it, you could set it at
6:30.
6:45 if you wanted to. I mean,
Okay,
it's a matter of
Why don't we do
going through
that?
a couple of pages and,
right.
yeah.
So that one would be October the 4th
Mhm.
at 6:45. And do we know the December date meeting?
December is-
The 6th?
Is that?
December is the 6th.
Okay.
Which means we really have to hold those meetings.
Mm-hmm, yeah,
So you're gonna do both of those at 6:45,
yep,
Mhm.
just prior to the regular?
correct, yep,
Again, I'm not sure I'll be here on October 4th.
okay.
What's that, Bill?
I'm not sure that I will be here October the 4th.
I'll make a motion to approve the those two dates, October 4th, 6:45, and December 6th at 6:45 for the 2 informational meetings.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Do we have any board member comments?
I want to, first of all, thank all the applicants to the executive director position. Very impressive, I felt, all 4 of them. They all came and showed up, spent their time here explaining who they were and what their visions were, so it's appreciated. Also, I just wanted to, regarding Peach Fest weekend or whatever it was, 2 weeks ago now, week and a half ago.
Yeah.
Kudos to the, I believe, pretty much the DPW. Obviously, as you probably know, I was pretty much outside the whole weekend, 5-day week. Spotless. The village, at least I can speak for the area where I am, mostly the CBD area. I mean, it's, 5 o'clock, we're out there, and there's not only street sweeping, but blowing the sidewalks, garbage got emptied, and as far as for my participation in Peach Fest weekend, greatly appreciated. So, and it's a great reflection. A lot of people coming to town, and that's what they saw.
Thank you.
So, thank you to anyone and everyone who helped organize that.
Yeah, they've always done a great job on cleanup. I've always been amazed.
That's it for me.
Christine?
I'm good.
Bill? Carol?
I just wanted to say congratulations to Greg on the new endeavor.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, kind of
Appreciate
excited.
that. You know, I appreciate those comments. Carol, I will tell you, Taylor's doing a lot of, he's a young guy and he's getting going and stuff, and I'm glad to help him, walk with him on it, but it's not been the easiest thing either, and I shudder to think what the new guys from out of town run into when they try to do something like that. And you would think when somebody does those types of events and efforts and puts forth all that there'd be more interest and more of that, so thank you that people would actually care, because that was just an inch of slipping the other way. And we unfortunately, Christina had to take phone calls from people in the community wanting to know why there's a dumpster there and why there's this and why there's that, and I don't think anybody's called and said, hey, thanks for taking a little part of the village and making it a little bit brighter. So, but thank you for noticing, and I appreciate those comments. I'll pass them on to Taylor.
And I didn't know if people are aware, but the Italian restaurant is expanding also.
Yeah, that's nice to know.
Yeah, they bought the other half.
That's good.
Tom always said,
that's
every time we
exciting to
drive
have.
by, that's a great front he's
Nicer
doing
restaurants.
over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks really
Does
nice.
look great.
I'm shocked how big it is inside too. I was like,
Yeah,
how are
it's
they gonna
good
fit a
size.
restaurant in that little party store? And it's like, hey.
I think he'll have a nice business there. If I'm sure it will be good product he puts out. It'll have a good location and good opportunity. And those doors, we ordered them in May, and you'd think by now, but it's just mind-numbing. It'll be a matter of 2 weeks or so, we're promised, and those overhead doors will be in, and then the man doors will be a little bit longer, but we're close. So get some duct work inside this week, and then hopefully they'll start pushing on the kitchen build out here sooner than later. But
When do you think you'll open?
well, to be clear, we just own the building, so it's really JL's that's doing it all. I don't want to speak for them, but they've got a lot of work to do in there still. I think they'd be hard pressed to put food out of there by Thanksgiving, so it could be a bit after that.
Christmas time then? That's nice.
I hope so for them, I think they did a good job over the Peach Fest weekend. I was gone a lot of it, just because of my anniversary. My son had a football game on Saturday, so, but that's what they say. We're trying to work with them, help them any way we
The
can.
building looks nice.
Yeah, thank you. I had 2 goals, one to make it look nice on the outside, and then collect rent on a regular basis. So I've got one done.
Carl, do you have anything?
I'd just like to thank Andrew and Sandy from the dance studio for helping me spread mulch and pull weeds last in the beginning of August or into July. So they just volunteered their time, and it's appreciated.
On a hot, sweaty day, too,
It was
I
a
bet.
hot day that we did it.
Megan? No? Zach? Well, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Lisa for her efforts in, I know working one day a week and trying to get everything done was hard, but I appreciate the support. And thank you to take on helping Elizabeth through this transition.
She's gonna need some help. I mean,
Yep.
you've got a big list. You've got a big list. I can actually show her a few things that I did, some stuff that I pulled. She'll do great. It's just, you know,
Mhm.
it's just some little things. But
It'll be a learning curve, yeah.
it'll be, yeah, I mean, it's not, you know, this is the tough stuff.
Right.
I hate to say it, but minutes are terrible. But yeah, I think she'll do great, and I wish you all the best, you know, in what you're doing and board. And if a seat ever comes open, I would take it.
Okay.
I would sit on the board again. It's been a pleasure. It's been a lot of fun. And I've really enjoyed the time.
Okay.
So, thank you.
Anybody else? No.
Thanks, Lisa.
Yeah, thanks,
You're
Lisa.
welcome.
So Bill, enjoy your trip to Portugal. Maybe they won't let you back in.
You can only
Might be
hope.
hoping that.
End the meeting?
Yeah, I need a motion to adjourn, please.
Second. Oh, it's your motion. I'll make the motion.
Aye.
Who was, you?
The two of them did it.
You were the motion?
I second.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
You.